Okay, so now we're going to move on to our developing data presentation. And so I'm going to introduce Dr. Lijun Chen, and she's an assistant professor in the Food and Resource Economics Department at the University of Florida. She holds a PhD degree in agricultural economics and management. Her responsibilities at University of Florida include teaching and research components, and she teaches classes in food and agribusiness marketing management, the economics of eating, and food supply chain management. Her research focuses on food marketing, consumer behavior, the economics of trust, and alternative food systems. And we're so lucky to be working with this incredible team at the University of Florida that are all working together to do a larger study into the home cooking movement. So I will turn it over to you, and you can go ahead and share your screen as well for the presentation.
Thank you. Give me 1 second. All right, I'm going to share my screen now. Can you hear me and see my screen now?
Looks great.
Perfect. Hi, everyone. My name is Lijun Chen. I go by Angelia. Thank you, Roya, for having us. So today, I will be presenting the research my team has been conducting for about 1.5 years. The title is to understand the economic and marketing resilience of the home cooking movement. Our team members are Dr. Zhang Lai, assistant professor from our department, and Jonathan Ritako, research assistant. He's been spending an incredible amount of time dedicating to this project and building it from the scratch. Without further ado, I'm going to dive into the background and motivation for this study. So I have been hearing all of you talking about how the home cooking movement is started in the past few years, and we probably could come to the agreement that the home cooking movement is still in its infancy, and therefore is facing challenges such as a lack of consumer awareness and insufficient capital supporting the legalized growth of the home kitchens. And little is known about the resilience of the home cooking movement and the market potential of MECO. So the overarching goal of our research project is to examine the economic and marketing resilience of the home cooking movement. Under that big umbrella, we are trying to achieve 3 things. The first objective is to analyze external and internal capabilities of the home cooking movement. And the second is to identify challenges and opportunities facing multiple actors supporting the movement, including legislators, nonprofit organization advocate, chefs, consumers, as well as third-party ordering platforms. And the last objective is to achieve a much improved understanding of chefs and consumers' motivation and barriers to stay engaged in the home cooking movement. So our methodology start from the phase 1, which is case study, focusing on a situation analysis. And the second stage, which is also the stage we're currently in, is the focus group, targeting chefs and consumers to collect their opinions and perspectives. And this is a qualitative approach. And based on the findings from the case study phase and qualitative approach, we are going to move on to the third approach, which is quantitative, to develop a survey. Our scope, we plan to start with California and using the 3-phase research plan and expand to other states such as Utah and Washington. Now I'm going to talk a little bit more about how focus groups are conducted. We are targeting 3 groups of target audience. They are chefs, of course, and the MECO consumers, as well as non-consumers. The non-consumers are consumers who have never purchased from or ordered from MECO before. Obtaining information and a perspective from the non-consumers is a great way to expand MECO market. And the sample size We are planning to have 4 sessions for each targeted audience, and each session will have 4 to 6 participants. So overall, we are hoping to get 20 to 24 responses for each group audience. So the surveys will be the next stage. We have built the survey. The team has spent incredible amount of hours dedicating to the survey. And we are also waiting on the preliminary findings obtained from the focus group to further polish our surveys. Again, we're targeting chefs and consumers and non-consumers as well. The survey approach has several advantages. For example, it provides quantitative evidence of demand drivers of the home cooking movement. It can help us identify potential market segments, and it also examines the effectiveness of MECO programs. So now it's the most important part. That's the preliminary findings. We had a focus group with 5 participants. They're MECO permitted chefs. The duration is about 3 hours. We have talked about topics including cuisine types, motivations, benefits, and challenges. We also talked about MECO practices, COVID impact, specialty meat, and future plans. So the first thing we talked about is the cuisine type. We have chefs operating Mexican fusion cuisine, Indian street food cuisine, vegan pizza, and American barbecue. All the chefs, the participants obtained MECO permits as soon as it was legalized. So the skill-wise, one chef did really well, kept out to the 60 meals a week. Other chefs are selling anywhere between 10 to 20 meals a week. So motivation and benefits. We have talked about what motivates you to start your own home cooking business. And it turns out most of the chefs agree that the passion for cooking and food sharing cultivated in the family really motivate them. For example, one participant said, I grew up cooking with dad and grandma. Things were selling good, and I saw my mom's dream coming true. And of course, there are tangible benefits associated with MECO. The first thing is inherent flexibility at a low cost. Some participants talked about that you can operate a little restaurant from home with flexibility, and you don't have to bear the overhead of a brick and mortar restaurant, and you can prove your concept in the real business world with a low entry cost. The secondary benefits associated with home cooking operations is more psychological related. For example, chefs are feeling the sense of pride, sense of autonomy, exercising creativity and innovation, gaining managerial experiences. Our participant talked about you can have everything done the way you want, and you can test out any menu ideas and being able to learn the things you need to learn while in your home. Again, the tangible benefits are tremendous. The challenges are also significant. So when we talk about the challenges facing chefs, we basically categorize the challenges into external challenge as well as internal challenges. So the external challenges basically includes efficient marketing, business operating, and finance. Our participant talked about advertising and marketing is an uphill battle. Because being visible in a sea of options is very difficult because everyone in California does food. They also talked about everything beyond a business related beyond food is challenging. Financial wise, having to pay for the permit was hard, and setting up the kitchen was also challenging. Internal challenges refer to those that are inherent to the current MECO regulations. For example, probably some of you can feel the pain. Food must be prepared and served the day from the MECO facility only. So our participant talked about there are so many my dishes that can hold for days, but we must cook the day of and throughout anything not sold. The second most significant thing they've talked about is not being able to use third-party delivery services, especially after the pandemic, which has changed the way we eat, we go out, we behave. The issue right now is that people want delivery or they want to eat at home. The last one is ambiguity within the legislation and interagency communication. One chef talked about they had to buy a better fire extinguisher, which is more expensive, much more expensive than the normal one. And when they ended up getting the fire extinguisher, the house inspector came over and said it was not necessary. In terms of permitting and resources, most of the chefs are satisfied with the streamlined permitting process, although providing information to different parties could be challenging. A couple of chefs mentioned that it was pretty easy to obtain my permit. Looking back, it was so easy, and I would not have waited so long if I had known. Some chefs didn't know any organizations or resources or programs assisting with the permitting process, but some chefs benefited tremendously from the informal groups, for example, the chefs community on social media. Most of the chefs are eager to learn more about the business management and prefer informal and a nonprofit organization to take the lead. One chef quoted, anything more informal like a nonprofit, not that I wouldn't trust the government, it is just really robotic versus someone I can talk to, ask questions or videos. Then we talked about neighborhood opinions, which is something we are on a consistent watch for. Most of chefs have obtained positive sentiment and support from the neighborhood. For obvious reason, our neighbors are benefiting from having a Miko chef in the neighborhood because we can get access to convenient food acquisition, and it also helps facilitating community building. One chef mentioned that most of my neighbors love it because they can skip cooking and get a convenient meal. It has created a small community space when my neighbors talk as I wait. There was one complaint that we talked about caused by the pickup traffic, but the chef was able to schedule pickup beforehand to avoid such complaint. Finally, we talked about delivery, dine-in, and the future plans. Most of chefs are interested in the third-party delivery services, but depending on the cost and the service they provide, for example, some food third-party delivery services offer advertising and menu design, and chefs have expressed interest in that. However, at the end of our discussion, most of chefs agreed that charging a fee anywhere between 10% to 15% is the maximum they can accept. A few chefs are planning to open their Miko for dine-in soon, and others are considering the option down the road in the future. One chef mentioned that one of my short-term goals is to open my backyard for dining in. COVID changed how we see dine-in, and now customers want an experience. So for the future plan to grow and expand, chefs have talked about their ideas. Most common one will be making dine-in available or create consumer packaged goods for retailing, or move on to the commissary kitchen or ghost kitchen or shared kitchen facility, or start a food truck. Key takeaways. Overall, the legislation of home-cooked foods and Miko permits offer chefs a really unique opportunity to incubate their business ideas and test out culinary ideas in a relatively lower financial risk environment. It also allowed a great diversity of individuals to pursue entrepreneurship. In terms of competitive advantages our Miko chefs have over brick and mortar traditional restaurants, we concluded that authenticity and freshness are the two most important things. While there are tremendous tangible benefits associated with Miko, and we have talked about that, and chefs are feeling challenged in terms of marketing, management, finance, as well as some ambiguity in current MiCO regulations. And again, more research on both chefs and consumer sides are needed. I remember in the earlier today, someone posted in the chat that if MiCO is really growing so well, why some of the counties in California and in other states are pushing it back. I think with further research from the consumer side, especially from the non-consumer side, to hear what consumer needs and want, we should be able to answer some of that question. All right, finally, I have a disclaimer. Those are the preliminary findings, and they might not be representative to all the chefs due to limited sample size. We strive to capture a more comprehensive and a representative understanding of chefs' experiences and perspectives with more chefs participating in our focus group. If you or your customers are interested in participating in our focus groups, sharing your perspectives and adding to our conversation, please do not hesitate to contact us, and our team are very excited to have you all. Thank you.
Thank you
Any
so
questions?
much. Yeah, again, thank you so much for that presentation. I think we'll open it up for a few questions if anyone has any, but again, we're super excited to continue to, work on putting together this data, run more focus groups, consumer focus groups, and get a really holistic and general understanding of this entire movement and how we can proceed. So thank you to you for providing this presentation. If anyone has any questions, you can put it in the chat. But otherwise, I think we will continue on to our next panel. And I just thank you again to this entire team for putting together all of this work, and we can't wait to see as it progresses and moves forward. There are actually, before we move on, just a few questions. One of the questions was, when do you expect the study to be complete, and when do you expect to publish the findings? If you wanted to share on that.
Sure, that's a really good question. We are, the whole team is moving our schedule around and trying to accommodate the time difference and the chefs and the consumer schedule. So Roya and I had a conversation earlier this week that we are going to conduct a few more focus group sessions about chefs at the beginning of December. And we are hoping to loop consumers in after the holiday. So it will be early January, and we'll be working during the weekend to accommodate consumers' needs. So hopefully we will be able to present the comprehensive findings of the study in February. And actually, our team member Jonathan Ritaco's abstract for an academic conference accepted. So we are hoping to finish the paper and make that presentation in February. And of course, I am more than happy to make presentations and the study available to all of you.
Thank you so much again. Okay,